I'm John Anderson because of him. And that's a heck of a thing. Oh, it's Father's Day. And I thought, okay, so maybe I've touched on it, maybe I haven't, but this time I can for sure. Because I'm very proud of the children that I have with Colin and Katie and Olivia. But I just thought I might just put a word in for my dad. And so, because he was the best man I know, right? Walter Collins, which is really strange because all my life I was the only Anderson in the house. My mom was, my sister, who's now a Berrigan. So I'm like the only Anderson around, but that's kind of where this ends up. So, my parents got married. I was maybe first grade, I think, is when the wedding was. But everybody in town knew him. And I've told you that before. I come back, whether it's for the draft or I come back for when I came back for the Packers 100th year anniversary, and I have all these people, John, and then it's always ends. It's not like we see on SportsNet. It was like, I knew your dad. Your dad put it in my basement. He put it I'm like, yeah, he did it to everybody. Like, yeah, I know. He put in most of the basements in this stupid town. Like, it's crazy like that. But that was always great. And everybody knew him and everybody liked him because he was a fair and he was an honest businessman and he would go out of his way to do what he could for you. But he's the guy that raised me. And we always joke about his tomato plants, which he loved. And I always say some of those he grew as seedlings and some of them he just would get them and transplanted them. And I was, in his life, I was a transplant, right? But he raised me like I was just every other tomato plant he had. And he took me to Brewer games and he didn't like baseball, but he'd take me and he'd sit there in the sun because it was warm and he was good with that. He never failed to say that he was proud of me. I think he was super happy that I didn't take over his construction business, that I didn't have to work in a hole because it was hard jobs when he did that. And the number of times, whether it was when I had a little success in high jumping in high school and people go, oh, Mr. Anderson, or when I came around and he'd go, oh, Mr. Anderson. And he never balked at that. He just, yes, that was fine. It was no problem. And I remember we went on vacation one time and we were down in Florida and I met this person at the hotel for the first time that were close to my family. And he said, oh, this is my son, John. He goes, I can see the resemblance. And we just chuckled because there's no resemblance whatsoever. And he made the family waffles. We got he was just grew up on a truck farm there on the east side of Green Bay, right out by Morgan L. Martin School. There's now a highway that went through all the acreage that his dad had that we used to run around endlessly in. And one year we got him a waffle maker. And when he passed away, that was the first thing my daughter Katie said, who make the waffles now? Like, it was just gut wrenching. But the best way I want to tell you this story to remember this man and kind of pay tribute here in Father's Day and kind of hopefully it shaped me in some way. Other than, by the way, his name was Walter Collins and my son's name is Colin. If you haven't made that connection, that's where that came from.
There you go.
But after a year or two, my mother went up and said, do you think you would like to adopt Leslie and John? Right? My sister is 3 years old. And he looked at my mom and he said, no. And you think, well, that's not. And he said, their father passed away and it was terrible. And I will be their father, but they should have their dad's name. That's who they are. And John should have Kenny's name so that there are Andersons and he is not forgotten. And so that's who my dad is. So I'm here. I'm John Anderson because of him. And that's a heck of a thing.